Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you this Monday morning, November 17th, 2025. This is the F&F committee meeting. It's 11:32. We're meeting at Stevenson Administration Building here at 1616 Richland Street, Columbia, South Carolina, in room 102. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, all persons, organizations, and media outlets, as requested, have been notified of the time, date, place, and agenda of this particular meeting. Since now we are not just on audio, but also visual, we won't have to have introductions around the board, but you may want to identify yourselves when you speak just so that people will know who you are. I am Barbara Weston, chairing the board, and I have with me Dr. Richard Moore. And so I'll ask if you'll ask that the meeting come to order, if you so move.
Sure, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Okay, I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it and so ordered. Our information item for this morning is artificial turf presentation presented by Mr. Robert Matz.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today I want to present to you a plan to begin the process of our turf on our stadiums and at our school sites. The agenda we're going to look at first is just to review the installation of the program, of the artificial turf program on the 8 sites in the district, then give you some background information on that installation and the process of a replacement, what our current usage and field replacement program planning looks like, and then we'll end with questions and answers. Okay. So just to give you some background information, we began the artificial turf program in 2015, 2016. So that was part of the programs of upgrading our athletic stadiums and school practice areas at 4 school sites. The first field that we installed, and we did it through contract, to Sports Field Engineering through an RFP, was the Eau Claire practice field, which we started in 2015 and opened in 2016. We then moved from Eau Claire to Lower Richland and finished that one in 2017. From there, we went to AC Flora in 2017 as well, and Columbia practice field in 2017. Then we went from Columbia over to the stadium at Keenan with the full building of the Keenan Stadium. And we finished that in 2018. And then the last ones at Bolden Stadium from 18 to 19, Memorial and Rear in 2019. So that was the order that we did the installation of the turf fields. The project included artificial turf, which was designed and warranted by First Form, subject to the limitations, conditions that synthetic turf products were used in the installation, remained free from defects in material and workmanship for 8 years from the substantial completion date. So if we go back and we look at, we're now coming across some of those 8-year cycles, and a lot of that will depend on factors that I'm going to talk about here. One, and the most important, is the usage of the field. How much is the field used? What is the wear and tear on the field? Other factors, the volume and cost for the repairs, the age of the turf, and then we also want to look at gradually replacing the turf rather than, as we did with that project, doing several or all of them at one time. We wanted to break it down over time for budget purposes and funding purposes. So the scope, our proposal from 2026 to 2032, excuse me. As we pick the schools and as we go through the process of replacing the turf that we currently have, the project scope would include the removal of the fiber carpet and the fill. We'd inspect the pad, which is important for the concussion protocols and percussion testing, and the base, and repair any issues that we would find on those fields that are out of sight when you're just looking at the top. So you're inspecting the pad, the base, and then repairing those issues. And then we would replace it with the new fiber and the new fill. So you can kind of see in the presentation how the process looks. You have the base, which is your stone, you have the padding, and then you have your fiber and your fill. Now, when we go to how did we pick or how do we determine what we're going to look at, the most important thing again is the amount of usage that the field receives, the number of teams, how much it's being played, how often it's being played on, etc. So that we're looking at the usage of the field when it comes to the turf. We also look at the wear of the fibers and the turf and condition of the systems underneath the fibers as we're looking and inspecting each of these fields as we go through the process. And then we also follow the advice of professional turf inspectors. They do a biannual inspection review related to our entire system. So we do that typically in July and January, that we have a third party come in, inspect, and tell us where we're at on our systems with our fields. Based on that information and based on discussions, we propose the following fields and the order that we would like to replace the turf as we go. The first field we would like to do is the AC Flora field. We would like to do that beginning in the summer of 2026. Its age at replacement is 8 years, and as you may or may not know, AC Flora is the most used turf field that we have in the district. The second one would be the Lower Richland Stadium. Again, we would do that the following summer in 2027. The turf age at Lower Richland at the time of the replacement would be 10 years. We would then move to W.J. Keenan. Its turf age would be 11 years, and that would be the summer of 2028. Memorial Stadium would be 2029. It would be 12 years old at the age of replacement. Then Columbia would be 13 years in 2030. Eau Claire, 2031. Age of turf replacement would be 14 years. Bolden Stadium would be 14 years at 2032. And Dreer Practice Field at 2033, and it would be 14 years at that time. The replacement process, again, once determined to replace, the following will occur. The fill will be removed, and old turf will be removed and recycled. The base will then be fully inspected and repaired where necessary. The pad that we currently have will remain, and then the new turf will be installed, which takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks to complete that process. The estimated costs for each field, typically, the cost will be between $7 and $10 per square foot for replacement. And again, that is dependent on the scope of repairs, if necessary, to the base once we get the turf off. The square footage of our fields range from 70 to 80,000 square feet. So total cost for replacement would be approximately $600,000 to $800,000 per field. And those projects would be solicited using the RFP process to gain the most competitive pricing. The grooming of the field, and we currently do this now, we groom every 14 to 21 days by District Facilities Management Services staff, which includes a visual inspection of the field to fill for loose seams and wear, groomed with a gator and brushed, and swept with a magnet for metal items so we keep it clean and safe that way. And then twice a year we have a third-party professional grooming inspection, inspected and groomed. As we said, currently it's by Stafford Turf. They installed all of our fields. It's also that grooming and inspection includes fill if needed, seam repair, fiber inspection, base repair if needed, and then the leveling of fill and general maintenance. Again, that grooming takes place twice a year, in July and January before the busy seasons for each of those time. So right before football begins in July and right before spring sports start in January. And then as needed, we do additional inspections and repairs and schedule those on an as needed basis. That's kind of at the program. At this time, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that, Mr. Matz. Any questions from you?
The 4 to 6 weeks of installation, they're ready to use at the end of that 6 weeks?
Yes, they would be ready to use, and we would be on the field at the end of that time.
And then the upkeep and grooming would be handled by whoever it is decided that installs that? Is that,
We would put out a
you put out
RFP,
another bid? Okay.
or we would use the company as part of the program that they set up if it comes into it. But typically, our normal, regular basis of grooming is done by maintenance,
Okay.
facility services, yes. The regular day-to-day grooming,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have any questions or concerns. That being said, anybody else have anything that they'd like to say on this issue? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Ayes have it and so ordered. So we are dismissed. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you